Yo, we're back. All right, so I have two really good videos here. On the left, you'll see Lucas Giolito. On the right, you'll see Shane Bieber. They both pitched on the same day, and they both pitched absolutely fantastic. I guess you can say absolutely fantastic for Giolito. I think a no-hitter is pretty good. Bieber didn't throw a no-hitter, but I believe he had 10 punchies, typical stuff. Anyways, this is just the warm-ups. This is their warm-up. I believe it's both of their last throw of their warm-ups. Actually, no, I take that back. It's Giolito's last throw, and it's Bieber's one of his throws. That actually, what I just said there for the last 9 seconds has no correlation and should not have been said, but I'll continue on. Okay, so all we're going to be talking about is something that I've been passionate about for a long time. I actually just produced an ebook on this. Optimizing your throwing mechanics and arm action efficiency and just basically connection, right? I call it hand path simplicity, arm action efficiency. Okay, so these are both obviously two really efficient pitchers and all-star caliber pitchers. And I want you to notice I have them synced up to ball release, right? So you see it here. This is at ball release. Now, everyone's different, right? And I think there's a common misconception with what I teach as far as like the hand path and the arm action, that everyone needs to do exactly what I say and exactly like how it looks for me. Like, no, that's not the case. Everyone's going to move differently. And this is actually case in point, right? Because they're not moving the same, right? They're just, the timing is different. You know, there's a lot of things, there are a lot of variables that are different, but I would just want to point out one main piece to this that allows both of these guys to remain consistent, right? What is the goal of like throwing, right? I mean, it's to be as consistent rep after rep as possible. So in order for us to do that, in my personal opinion, we need to simplify the movements while producing extremely high power output. Okay, so I want you to notice the hand path in both of these guys. Okay, that's all we're going to focus on. Now, obviously, there's so many other things that we could talk about, but I want you to notice the hand path, and we're going to take them both after separation of the hands, okay? So, obviously, Shane Bieber, I guess you can say, quote-unquote, longer. Giolito, probably the staple, the staple? Poster boy of this whole dynamic of quote-unquote, short arm, right? So, you're going to see here now, not only does this hand path separate, a bit later for both of these guys because they can. And what I mean by that is when you are simple, right? So when you're simple with your hand path, you now have an ability to increase your body's acceleration because you full well know that your hand path is going to be able to catch up when that front foot anchors down. Okay, so the whole dynamic when I got drafted 10 years ago was that bigger guys, longer lever dudes were going to be slower to the plate because of their arm action. They had the leverage and all of this misrepresentation of wordage and terminology. Now, you can see with both of these guys, that's not the case, right? So they can increase their body's acceleration. They can separate their hands essentially later, right? So, again, taking them at hand separation. Now, I know the videos are synced up differently, but just notice where, they are in terms of on the mound, right? Wow, that's not the straight line that I wanted. So you can already tell that they're getting going. They're getting away from their back foot. They're getting away from their getting away from the rubber, but just not to get off too much context here, but notice that both of them are able to stabilize. So their acceleration rate is going, right? So the rate in which the body is accelerating into their front foot plant is going. Now, notice this path. All right, let's focus more on Giolito this first time. We're going to disconnect here from this these dual videos. So now we're just going to focus on Giolito. Okay, this is path at separation. Now, I want you to notice the path in which both of his hands are going to be taking. So we're looking at glove hand and throwing hand. So this is my whole argument with again, I'm not a biomechanist, like I'm not the smartest person in the world, but if we're going to be efficient with our arm action, in my opinion, we need to be biomechanically efficient with our throwing arm and our glove arm. What do I mean by that? Now, equal opposite, right? So basically what the glove arm's going to do, the throwing arm's going to do as well. And it's a really good case in point to how Giolito, I think, made really good adjustments with his hand path. Was he essentially simplified his glove action, which then in turn simplified his throwing action. So now when he anchors down, we're going to see his arm action here inside. And I could be mistaken, but it looks like his glove arm's much in part the same. Now, again, Shane Bieber, same thing. Now, as soon as he begins that hand climb, notice what his glove arm is doing too, right? It's doing the same thing. Equal opposite, right? Now his glove hand comes in a little bit, but that's as soon as he's going into shoulder external rotation, right? So I get a lot of questions in regards to this whole dynamic and how people should start working towards optimizing their hand path and their arm action. And this is a really good question to have, right? Because if you're like me, I'd encourage you actually to look at the screening that I did of myself. I think it was 2014, and compared it to the 2020 version of me. And I talk a lot about this dynamic in there as well. It's on YouTube. You can find that. Or purchase my throwing mechanics ebook, therobbyrowshow.com/ebooks. But in there I talk about how we always think about the arm, the throwing arm, right? And then we don't really necessarily think about this glove arm and how this can influence efficient movement patterns as well. So I would actually encourage a lot of people, this is why I'm so big on counterbalance stuff, overloading glove side, say with a 2 or 3 pound counterbalance, and see what that does. More oftentimes than not, the glove side will then have to stay connected to the body, right? It can't get too far out here, or else that weight's going to drag them down. They're going to fly out with that glove side, and then everything's going to be broken down. So the body actually organizes itself extremely efficient when you do throw an overload object, counterbalance in there, and then you see exactly what we're seeing from these two high caliber pitchers is glove side connection will then lead to arm action connection, right? So that's kind of the point in which I wanted to showcase here, was that Bieber extends his glove arm here. He's got a little bit of arm flexion here, but it's as soon as he starts that climb, now they're synced up, right? Now they're moving. Giolito, who's going to pretty much stay compacted the whole entire time, they're moving together. So again, just a really good visual of two guys here that throw the ball on a consistent basis. They get into their slot consistently. And I mean, look at the byproduct of this, just all these things happening at once extremely well, right? So let's sync them up at extension here. Now look at the byproduct of this, right? So you anchor down. I wish their anchor point was online, but it's not. Again, timing. So now look at their ability to leverage this throwing arm with the body's trunk rotation, right? So trunk rotation is going to deliver the arm. Now when they go into this trunk flexion here, right? So it's this external rotation is going to reach maximum capacity, and it's going to act as that whip, right? So that's a huge piece to all this, man, is leveraging this arm, having the trunk rotation bring the arm through, having the hip rotation bring the trunk through, right, after delaying that, and then boom, leverage the arm. And then this is what my argument is with late launch. Okay, so the goal is consistency, is get into your slot as consistently as possible by being efficient, and you get late launch. Late launch, we want to be as close as we can to the target, right? Deception, consistency, extension, shoulder extension, all those things are happening extremely, extremely well for both of these guys. It's no accident, guys. It's no accident these guys are as good as they are. They obviously have to do something really well. And then you see the arm deceleration on both of these guys, really efficient there. Bieber, not so much trunk rotation completion and giving the arm a little bit more decel time. Giolito has that, as you see, he kind of completes more trunk rotation that I think buys his arm a little bit more time. But all in all, good stuff, right? So as I mentioned before, I have that ebook on throwing mechanics. It's a whole ebook basically giving you it's not overcomplicated. It's a very simple guideline to follow if you're somebody that's really trying to obtain this arm action and just get into repeatable slots and to optimize these moving parts to increase your consistency. You know, talk to any guy that faces Shane Bieber or Giolito, and you're probably going to hear the word deception. You know, you hide the ball, it's compact, and then it's boom, and then it's on you, right? And you have life, and that's another piece to all of this, is it adds in that deception factor, which is huge as you advance levels and you face hitters that are just good, right? So be sure to check that out. Like I said, therobbyrowshow.com/ebooks. Take you to that page. You can also check out all the links in the description if you want to work with me, if you want to get your throwing mechanics analyzed, so on and so forth. So that'll do it. Let's sign off. Not a terrible signature there. God bless, guys. Love you. See ya.